What's your takeaway so far, Staffan, from the discussions we've had?
I mean, I think it's interesting. It's highlighting the fact that there are so many challenges, so much we can do. I mean, there's way too much to do, essentially.
Yes. We should all just leave and go and work, right? So in your view, what are the most interesting advancements in cybersecurity as a result of artificial intelligence?
Well, if I focus on what we're doing, so we do threat intelligence. So our modest ambition is to build the most comprehensive threat-oriented digital twin of the world. So we're gathering information from everything on the internet, everything from content, text and images, all the way down to things like what the DNS system looks like, network traffic, certificates, all of it. And I mean, to do that at the scale we're doing would be completely impossible without automation. I did this back on the envelope calculation. If to just analyze the text that we analyze, we would need something like 50,000 people constantly reading text, very bored people. So just automation is one aspect. The other one, I think, is the augmentation side there, when we can start using machine learning to do more complex analysis, beyond what our limited brains can do, because it's very high-dimensional data, which we don't grasp. So I think automation and augmentation sort of are the two big, sort of high-level, big aspects.
And what else is important for the opportunity to produce high-quality intelligence?
That's an interesting question. So, I mean, it's for us ourselves, we're at a sort of a breaking point now. So we spent, we founded this company 15 years ago. We spent essentially all that time building a system to ingest data and organize it. So to go from unstructured text, etc., to build this huge knowledge graph that we have. And it's only really and then we used to work on information visualization as a way to help the human analysts to use this data.
To
consume it, yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's only really the last half year that we started working using AI methods to help the consumption. So of course we're using LLMs like everyone else. So the fact that you can, if you take and it's an interesting step because you take the knowledge graph, which is, a mathematical graph, you actually need to transform that into text, or back to text if you like, and then you can feed that into a GPT, for example, and have it do different kinds of analytics. And I think it's extremely exciting, the kind of reasoning you can do. I have two good examples, I think, of the things you can do on the analytics side. So one of my favorites is that since we organize data with a lot of metadata, what we can actually now ask our system is, look at the current geopolitical situation around Taiwan. Give me a comparison how that is being talked about in Russian versus Chinese media. And the model actually does a great job on that.
Like this.
Exactly. And damn, what was the other one I was going to say? There's another good example. It's actually Pontus Jonsson at KTH and I did a little study. We looked at, can you use it for attribution, which is a notorious problem. So what we did was we took a bunch of texts from the anonymous Sudan group. Everyone's heard about them, right? They're the ones who attacked a lot of Swedish public infrastructure and companies in Sweden. And we took their tweets and asked them, where does the person who wrote this come from, given their Arabic dialect? And GPT pointed out exactly, this is from Sudan. Here are the 5 reasons in the text why this is from Sudan. I bet there are extremely few, if any, analysts in Sweden who has the capability to do those kind of things. But now you can do it automatically in seconds.
And do several every hour.
And you can automate it. So another use case for that is actually to do anomaly detection in how things are being reported. So you take some big event happening, but it's only reported in, let's say, Russian social media. It's not in mainstream news and so on. So that's actually a sort of fairly straightforward way to detect influence operations by seeing anomalies in what languages and what media types it's being reported. Again, you need to do that at huge scale, so you need to automate it.
And let's talk about more how AI can help consume intelligence. Graphic representation, you said. How can it be used to make it more understandable and more actionable for humans?
So I think this is the next big challenge. So what we do today, we use it to summarize things, and to summarize it with references. It's actually a good example. When you're using the LLMs to summarize, you get away from a lot of the problems with hallucinations, because they actually do a pretty good job. If they have a text, it could be big text, and ask it to summarize, it doesn't have to make things up to produce this. And we measured this. We get extremely seldom cases where it hallucinates. So that's one good example that you can actually do trustworthy summaries of large materials. That's one good example. I think also the fact that we use, as I said, to build fancy visualizations and interactive ways of exploring data. But language is such a powerful way for a human analyst to query the data. You don't have to pre-think how you're going to slice and dice the data. You can essentially just use language as a tool for doing that.
And translations are so easy to do.
And then translation, of course, because half of our users worldwide do not have English as their first language, so they can actually produce reports automatically in their own language.
Is it always going to be screen-based, the way you consume intelligence going forward?
No, I don't think so. There are many cases where you definitely want to have voice interaction, for example. I think, lots of cases where you want not to have to sit at a desktop with your hands on a keyboard to do things. And for many roles, I think, being able to do the sort of get the quick alert as you're on the move and be able to interact and, again, query the system. Why does this affect me? What do you know about it? And so on. And, no, absolutely. I think multimodal interaction in all ways.
Your speciality, Staffan, is the future. And what can we expect going forward in terms of encryption or other areas?
That's a lovely, broad question. No, I think, right now what we're focusing, and I think someone else talked about that as well, I think it will be very interesting to see what the bad guys do, in terms of... given that we hopefully, improve our defenses, they've been getting away with very simple rudimentary techniques for their attacks, truly. And if we manage to improve on the defensive side, they're going to have to improve. They have exactly...
And AI can help us do that.
They have exactly the same toolbox as we do, right? So they will figure out new ways. So I think there are two important aspects for us to do. One is to think about how to defend about these new kind of attacks, but I really think we should also start thinking more about how the bad guys can do this. I would love in this program, for example, to see someone who focused on AI for doing really bad things. Because if we don't think about that, how can we defend against it?
And finally, I know in a lot of fields we have a shortage of competence, a shortage of skills. Can you see AI enhancing or augmenting human capabilities so that recruitment won't be such a problem for you going forward?
It's actually very funny that you say that today, because we've just been conducting a survey. This is with our platform without all the AI summarization and stuff, but we just conducted a survey with 90 of our customer companies, and they had some pretty remarkable numbers just on the fact that we do the ingestion and organization using AI. And they actually showed this, that you could get a 30% capacity improvement. So the existing analysts could do 30% more work, given that they had these tools available. The other interesting thing was that they said for the 20% of all tasks, they could get away with having a very junior analyst do it instead of a senior analyst. So I think it's both a question of improving the capacity of your more senior people, but it's actually also being able to have less experienced people come in and do more sophisticated things. And the combination of that...
30% increase, that's amazing.
It's amazing, yeah.
Yes.
So essentially it means that, a day and a half a week, you can do more things on.
Let's end there, because that's really giving us hope for the future.
Yeah, there's some hope, clearly.
Thank you, Staffan.
Thank you.
Staffan Truvé, Recorded Future.